What's up, everybody? Been a while since I cut one of these for YouTube, but today is, shall we say, a special occasion. So by now, you guys have heard the news. We've been all over it today at allsooners.com over at SI. Oklahoma football coach Lincoln Riley is gone. He is no longer the Sooners head man. That's according to multiple reports this afternoon, Sunday, from Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Yahoo, The Athletic, On3. Really just about everybody within reach of a college football insider has reported that Riley met with USC on Saturday night. We have gotten some confirmation as well. It's over. The Lincoln Riley era has ended, unless he has one of those weird 11th hour change of hearts. We don't anticipate that, but we presume it started with USC. The talks started with USC after losing the Bedlam game at Oklahoma State on Saturday night. Not like, during the game or at halftime or anything like that. We're also hearing that those meetings with USC and Lincoln Riley concluded today, early Sunday. Just think about it. It's just mind-blowing stuff. So where do we start with this? Well, we're already hearing some gargantuan contract numbers, unconfirmed, of course, but we've heard the numbers tossed around. 10 years, $15 million a year. That's a good one. Although USC is a private school, doesn't have to reveal that stuff if they don't want to, unless they're pressed. And now at Oklahoma, Riley, you'll recall, was making about $7.5 to $8 million a year during the course of his contract through 2025, and that's depending on which bonuses he was getting in which year. So I guess that part of it, the salary part, kind of made sense. Yeah, but there's so much to this that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're talking, if you're Lincoln Riley, right, you're taking the USC gig, which hasn't been a good football program for a decade now. I mean, a really good championship football program for like 15 years almost. But you're not taking the LSU gig, which has won 3 national championships in the last 18 years. And you're leaving behind Oklahoma, which almost literally can't lose in the Big 12, right? So maybe OU joining the SEC just kind of scared Lincoln Riley off. Maybe. I thought that guy was up for the challenge. I thought he was one of the ones that was pounding the desk to go to the SEC. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he wasn't. He not only doesn't want to face Alabama and Nick Saban every year, he also doesn't want to recruit against those SEC heavyweights in that conference every year too. And that's okay. If that's right, I get it. If that's really the question, if that's really the reason for why Lincoln is going to USC, then he probably wasn't the best guy to take Oklahoma into the SEC anyway. Now, Bruce Feldman reported that his sources told him that Lincoln Riley was intrigued by Southern California and Los Angeles, as well as obviously the endless supply of top-shelf recruits that you have access to there. He's done a good job recruiting that area. And let me just remind you that Sooners have a lot of those guys committed in the 2022 and the 2023 classes, including the next 5-star Golden Boy quarterback, Malachi Nelson, and a bunch of his high school teammates at Los Alamitos. Anyway, Lincoln Riley's 38 years old. He was the golden child at Oklahoma at first. Remember when he took over for Bob Stoops in the summer of 2017? Stoops basically got to handpick his successor. So, this most likely does not sit well with Stoops, especially after Lincoln Riley fired Mike Stoops, Bob Stoops' brother. So, who knows? Speaking of Stoops now, we have multiple reports and confirmation that he will continue to coach Oklahoma on an interim basis. He's being called up from the bullpen, basically, Bob Stoops is. The guy knows what he's doing, right? I mean, he was there for 18 years. He won more games than any coach in school history. That's 190, and he's presumably going to be around for the bowl game. We believe OU will play in the Alamo Bowl, by the way. And then he's going to, we presume, slide back into retirement, broadcasting, tequila, coaching in the XFL if it ever comes around again, whatever floats Bob's boat. But for now, he's going to be the interim coach leading this program into a bowl game. So since that first season, right, when Lincoln Riley and OU lost in overtime to Georgia, I think Lincoln Riley's star has fallen a little bit. I think that's fair to say. Baker Mayfield won the Heisman. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. Then Kyler Murray did the same thing the following year. But if you think about it, OU got knocked around by Alabama in the playoff in the Orange Bowl. Then they had Jalen Hurts as the quarterback in 2019. OU got body slammed by LSU in the Peach Bowl. We all remember that, right? Also in the playoff. Well, last year, Oklahoma didn't even make the playoff, and they ended up losing back-to-back regular season games, guys, for the first time since the John Blake era, okay? And then this year, they lost 2 conference games again, didn't even make it back to the Big 12 title game. They were eliminated just last night, just a few hours ago, really. So Lincoln Riley said Saturday night after Oklahoma State's 37-33 win in Stillwater that he was heartbroken for the players and the team, and that not getting to make a run for a 7th straight Big 12 title was a gut punch. And then at the end of the Zoom press conference, about 15, 16 minutes, he got a question about LSU. All the rumors, all the reports, you know, he had met with the team and he had accepted a job and he was going to be introduced on Sunday morning. He cut the question off and he said, "I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. Next question." That's a direct quote. Well, in hindsight, the next question should have been, are you going to be the next coach at USC or anywhere else? Can't see that far into the future, right? Well, maybe not. So here's a big deal. National Signing Day of the early signing period coming up on December 15th. It's just a few weeks away. And while that's now a massive day for the immediate future and the fortunes of this football program, the most pressing concern Sooner Nation should have is about the current players, most importantly, Caleb Williams. Yeah, remember him? OU's freshman quarterback said on Twitter today that he basically wishes Lincoln Riley and his family well, and that's all I'm saying right now. That's what he said. Okay, I get it. But man, I don't know about this. The writing is on the wall here, and it is not good for Oklahoma. If you think about it, okay, with the transfer portal always open, you know Lincoln Riley is working Caleb Williams right now to transfer to USC, where he can play right away in 2022. No waiting, no hardship waiver, no redshirting. He's eligible to go the minute he enrolls. So you got to believe there's an extremely strong chance of that happening, and probably sooner than later. So remember now, Caleb wanted to be coached by Lincoln Riley so bad that he said he was willing to walk on at OU. That was when Lincoln still had a verbal commitment from Brock Vandegrift in this 21 class, remember? Caleb didn't care. He was coming to OU. He wanted to be coached by Lincoln Riley. Riley's quarterback coaching meant that much to him that he was willing to walk on. 5-star, number 1 ranked player in the country was willing to walk on. So, of course, once Brock Vandegrift got wind that Williams was indeed headed to Norman, he decommitted and flipped to Georgia. So, you know, Caleb to USC is potentially very, very real thing. Probably a good amount of other players at Oklahoma as well, although many of Williams' teammates, I got to say, they took to Twitter to Sunday as well and just expressed a desire to, the way they phrased it, just go win their next game, wherever that is. It's the bowl game. So Riley leaves Oklahoma with a 55-10 win-loss record. He was the fastest in school history to 55 wins, and he was probably 4 years away or so from OU literally putting up a statue of him. Right now, if you think about it, the Sooners are the only program in college football, all of college football, with 4 coaches who have 100 career wins. And they put up big statues of those guys outside the new South End Zone facility, right? So Lincoln was going to be next. Now, obviously, looks like that's not going to happen. So Sooner fans want to know who's next. Well, once Bob Stoops finishes up the bowl game, we think, Joe Castiglione's got a very interesting list that he can choose from. So who's it going to be? We don't know, obviously, but let's speculate, okay? Does Brent Venables finally get a head coaching job and come back to Norman? That seems like a long time coming if you think about it. And can you imagine everything he's learned at Clemson under Dabo Swinney? What about Josh Heupel? Does Josh continue the steady climb that he's been on ever since Stoops had to fire him? Josh has done very, very well as a head coach at Central Florida and Tennessee. I know a lot of fans didn't like his offense in 2013 and 2014, but folks, let's not forget that wasn't his offense. That was the offense Bob Stoops made him install. It was the Johnny Manziel Texas A&M offense. Just didn't work at Oklahoma. This time, as the head coach at Oklahoma, he would be able to run the offense he wants, and that's the Josh Heupel offense. Now, Adam Schefter reported that Cliff Kingsbury is a strong candidate. Oklahoma is locked in on him. If a guy can't win in the Big 12 at Texas Tech, why would he be able to win at Oklahoma in the SEC? I'm not buying that because he's making more money and is winning more games right now for the Arizona Cardinals, right? Besides, Schefter, going back to 2008, 2009, he's been wrong about Oklahoma coaches before when he locked in Stoops going to Notre Dame. That didn't work out. What about Luke Fickell? He's an incredibly strong candidate, and the unbelievable job that he's done at Cincinnati should put him at the top of Joe C's list. He's 47-14 in 5 years with the Bearcats, and they're only one win away from the college football playoff. What do we think about other coaches around the Big 12? Got to ask, right? Dave Aranda at Baylor certainly seems like a good candidate. The rebuild that he's pulled off in just 2 seasons in Waco is remarkable, and he did beat Riley for a spot in the Big 12 title game. Also, how would y'all feel about Matt Campbell at Iowa State? Incredible coach, fundamentally and foundationally, but boy, what a massive underachievement this year was, right? You want some of that? They just went 7-5. Who knows? There's also Lane Kiffin, the Lane train. He's done very well at Ole Miss, led the Rebels to their first 10-win season in school history. He's obviously got good connections to the Nick Saban tree and isn't afraid of Saban, or anyone else for that matter. But that's a coach that does come with a little drama. Take it or leave it. This is the point where I want to remind you guys that Oklahoma always hires assistants to be the next head coach, right? Bud Wilkinson was an assistant. Chuck Fairbanks. Barry Switzer was an assistant. Gary Gibbs was an assistant. John Blake was an assistant. Bob Stoops was an assistant. And of course, Lincoln Riley was an assistant. The only guy during that stretch who didn't come from the ranks of assistant coach was Howard Schnellenberger, who was a longtime head coach, and we saw how that one turned out. So, other than Venables, what assistant coaches might get a look from Joe C? If you want to leave some comments down below, I would encourage you to do that. I want to hear what you think about Oklahoma's next head coach. What about Joe Brady, the offensive genius who guided Joe Burrow and LSU to the national title 2 years ago, right? That offense was the best of all time. Would he leave his job as Matt Rule's offensive coordinator at Carolina to be the head coach at Oklahoma? What about Rhett Lashley? Little-known name around these parts. Some people are familiar with him. He's been on a sharp upward trajectory, I think, as an offensive coordinator from the Gus Malzahn camp. He was recently offensive coordinator at Miami, and now it's been reported that he's the new head coach at SMU. Maybe he gets a look. Listen, the fact is, it's a long list that Castiglione is going over right now. Or, you know what, might be more accurate? Joe C's smarter than all of us, so maybe he's got a short list that he's sticking to, and maybe that list includes Mark Stoops, Matt Rule, or whoever the next big thing on Nick Saban's staff is. We'll have to wait and see. Not really sure where else to take this thing today. There's a lot of nerves, I know, are still very raw about how Riley let this 2021 team, a team that was picked to win the national championship by several pundits in the preseason, including the one and only Phil Steele. How he let it slip away from him. 2 5-star quarterbacks, like 5 5-star receivers, right? Supposedly the best offensive line coach in the country with a decidedly underperforming offensive line. A defense in year 3 under Alex Grinch. This was a team that brought back so much talent from really the end of a 6-time Big 12 championship run, and somehow they lost 2 of their last 3 games. A 7-year win streak to Oklahoma State, gone. A 7-year win streak over Baylor, gone. Now, my guys over at allsooners.com suggested that Lincoln is now the new public enemy number 1 among sports fans in the state of Oklahoma. I mean, to think that Lincoln Riley has replaced Kevin Durant as the most hated man in sports for fans of this state, it's kind of hard to wrap my head around because he was so beloved and so revered. Now, but if you throw in the news today, this afternoon, that he met with his players for just a couple minutes as a team on Sunday afternoon and then walked out, that's crazy. Want you guys to check out allsooners.com for more details, more quotes, more analysis, more coaching candidates, and don't forget to catch me every weekday morning from 9 to 11 on the Sports Animal in Tulsa. It's 97.1 FM. You can also listen worldwide at sportsanimalradio.com. Glad to be back. Thanks for watching. See you guys.